In a world teetering on the edge of old magic and new turmoil, 5 unlikely souls found their paths converging beneath the shadow of a growing darkness. This is the story of how the adventurers, Georgette Lunarshade, Frida Orcslayer, Gudrid Cragsmasher, Fathom Wavecrest, and Wilbur Greenhill, met and forged a bond strong enough to face the unknown. Together, they became known as the Veilbreakers, for their bravery pierced the boundaries of realms and hearts alike. It began in the bustling port town of Dawnwatch, a city built on the edge of sea and forest, where trade routes entwined and rumors drifted like the salt breeze. Each of them arrived with their own silent quest. Georgette sought freedom from noble expectations, Frida chased whispers of her enchanted lineage, Gudrid hunted the echoes of her lost tribe, Fathom pursued mastery over the wild magic pulsing inside him, and Wilbur yearned to balance the destructive and nurturing facets of fire. Their meeting was no mere happenstance, but rather the unraveling of threads woven by fate's hands. The first to notice the others was Wilbur, whose keen ears caught an unusual melody drifting across the market square, the haunting strains of a lute entwined with subtle magic. It was Georgette, performing not for coin, but to sway a gathering crowd that was becoming restless due to strange occurrences near the docks, strange figures lurking in the mist and whispers of a cursed artifact resurfacing. Frida, drawn by the commotion and the promise of danger that whispered to her battle-forged instincts, approached Georgette after her performance. The two spoke of the recent disappearances, sailors vanishing without a trace, strange lights seen beneath the waves at night. Their conversation was interrupted by the sudden arrival of Fathom Wavecrest, a figure stormy and wild, who had been investigating these very disturbances as a member of the City Watch. Gudrid appeared soon after, luminescent with an aura beyond mortal ken, seeking clues about the ethereal beings spotted near the docks, beings she believed might be connected to her celestial patron. The group's curiosity sparked an initial alliance, though it was Frida's mechanical insight and Wilbur's elemental connection that convinced them their fates were tied. The cause for their unity became clear. An ancient relic, the Tideheart amulet, had been stolen from the temple beneath the city. This artifact kept the boundary between the elemental plane of water and the mortal world strong. Without it, the waters churned with chaotic magic, threatening to flood Dawnwatch and drown the land in a surge of wild magic and destructive storms. The mystery deepened when they learned the amulet was taken by the Obsidian Veil, a shadowy cult bent on breaking the balance between realms to summon a water demon they could control for their own dark ambition. It was then they called themselves the Veilbreakers, pledging to mend the broken barriers and halt the catastrophe. Their first challenge arose in the flooded catacombs beneath Dawnwatch, where the veil had already begun to fray. The embattled tunnels twisted and dissolved into brine-filled mazes alive with hostile water elementals conjured by the cult. As they ventured deeper, the waters surged and magic flickered with wild unpredictability. Fathom's mastery over water magic became their shield and sword as he summoned whirlpools to hurl back the creatures. Frida's battle-smith creations, a metallic construct bearing both arcane and practical purpose, moved beside her, its eyes glowing with fairy magic, carving a path through the chaos. Wilbur called forth fiery spirits from within himself, their flames dancing over the briny air, warding off frost-bitten shadows and burning away darkness without harming the delicate balance of the catacombs. Gudrid's celestial power pierced the murky waters, her spells freezing surging tides and turning them into glassy barriers. And Georgette's illusions wove light and shadow, confounding the cultists and giving her companions moments of reprieve. She sang of hope and strength, her magical melodies bolstering their spirits as much as their bodies. The greatest obstacle was the encounter with the cult's leader, a sorcerer who had already begun the summoning ritual with the Tideheart amulet. The chamber trembled with raw elemental energy, water swirling like a living storm ready to burst forth. Under assault from torrents of wild magic, the Veilbreakers relied on their synergy. Frida's hands shielded Wilbur as he summoned a conflagration of wildfire spirits, their heat resisting the icy water. Gudrid's otherworldly power cracked the ritual's magical bindings, while Fathom wrestled the water around the sorcerer into chaotic spirals. Georgette's voice, clear and resolute, shattered illusions masking the ritual's source, allowing Frida's battlesmith to seize the amulet. In a moment of unified strength, the party shattered the sorcerer's control over the elemental forces, restoring the fractured barrier and bathing the catacombs in calm once more. With the cult dispersed and the balance restored, the group's bond sealed by shared peril and hard-won victory, the Veilbreakers pledged to travel together. Each carried within them a personal flame and storm, hopes to reconcile worlds at odds, or voices yearning to be heard beyond the velvet shadows. They knew dark tides would rise again, that mysteries lurked both in untamed wilds and civilized courts. But the Veilbreakers, a coalition born from unlikely origins, a half-fairy Goliath artificer, a noble yet wild lycantha bard, a celestial warlock raised by halflings, a tempestuous water genasi, and a fiery halfling druid, stood ready to answer the call. Together they would pierce every veil, challenge every darkness, and carve their names into legend. Thus began the saga of the Veilbreakers, champions summoned by chance but bound by choice, their story whispered where the waves kiss the shore and the wildfires dance beyond the stars.